Waldo is now live streaming Just Chatting Kent State Anniversary. How do you feel about the new protests #politics? Getting started in about 10 minutes. Toss any links to news into the Discord. https discord gg benyay tritix 8 Where's Waldo? Slots. The result is at KBP 24. Sorry, keep trying. You lost 50 points.
Oh, hi. Hello. How you doing?
Gamble 100. At KBP 24 dice roll result 1. You lost the bet.
It's a, it's a travesty. It's a crime.
8 ball. At Shinsinto the 8 ball says don't bet on it. HAHAA.
Don't bet on it. KBP, the 8 ball is trying to tell you something. Okay? It's trying to let you know you ought to quit this. But you can't quit because you're addicted. And that's exactly how I wanted this to go. Uh, it is my evil genius plan to make
8
you.
ball.
It doesn't work on Kick. Sorry. It's only on the Twitch. Also, you have to type in a question first. Uh,
Can't argue with science.
you, uh, you're supposed to type in the question, and then the 8 ball. Is Waldo a cool guy?
Is Waldo a cool guy? 8 ball. At Waldo the 8 ball says no E.
I thought I was a cool guy, but apparently I am not. Anyway, hi, how's it going? My name is Waldo, and I'm here to feel the politics with you. Um,
See science.
Science, yeah, I know. See, it's never wrong. This 8 ball is 100% correct all the time. It can never be wrong. And it told you not to bet on it. Uh, KBP, it was talking to you. It was like, hey, listen, man, quit doing these bets. You fail so often. But you can't because I got you addicted to it. Mwahahaha. And so you have to come back here 3 times a week and play the betting game again and again and again. And then I benefit from it. Mwahahaha. I am evil. That's what happens. Is I get to benefit from your addiction. And that is really the way to go in a capitalist society, you know? Don't sell in a capitalist society, don't sell the things people need. No, 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 no. Sell them the things they want. Sewells, hi. I saw your excellent point you made during my last stream way later than I should have because you're on the YouTube chat. YouTube chat comes in much slower, and the lady Canooch won't read it. She's anti-YouTube. She doesn't trust them. She thinks that they're pushing a liberal bias on the algorithm, stuff like that. So she doesn't read YouTube chats. But I will today try to keep my eyes open on it. I've got the chat right down there where I can see it. And if there is a YouTube chat, I will try to notice it. But without a lady reading things into my ear, sometimes it gets
It'll have to
forgetful.
be mute for a while.
Oh, you'll have to be mute for a while. Okay. um, let's see. Um, so anyway, what's today? It's May the 4th. Is everybody wearing their Star Wars shirts and excited about the Star Wars holiday? May the 4th be with you. Hooray. Very exciting. Very fun. I might talk my kid into watching Return of the Jedi later tonight. That's the one we're on because he'd never watched them. So we're watching them in chronological order from release date. You know what I mean? We watched the last two. He really enjoyed Empire. So, oh, but he didn't
I
like
am
the.
excited for the Star Wars comedy burlesque show.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen some of those on the internet, but not like live. I'm sure there's one in Seattle that I could go watch, but I'm not gonna go watch it. Uh, that would mean me leaving the house, and I don't do that anymore. Uh, just kidding. I do sometimes leave the house when I have to, but I don't like it. Um, so yeah, May the 4th, very fun, very exciting. Um, I'll try and get my kid to watch Jedi later tonight, and then yeah, he didn't love the idea that the movie ended on such a cliffhanger. Empire really ends on a huge cliffhanger. It's like bam, what happens next? You know, you're right in the middle of a thing. So it's good that he doesn't have to wait. Um, I would have hated. God, I would have hated to have lived back then. What year did that come out? Seven? No. Empire came out in 1980. I want to say that's 2 years before I was born. So I would have hated to have watched that, gotten to that ending, and been like, okay, what now? faff about and wait for 2 years, I suppose, uh, until they put out another movie. That would be sad. And you can't like just go and download new things, and you can't go to YouTube and watch uh, criticisms or people talk about it.
https empire strips back.
Empire Strips Back, yes, indeed. It is a very silly and fun thing. If you're bored and looking for something fun to do, you can watch. People make Star Wars jokes and sometimes take their clothes off. Very exciting. I like both of those things. You know, those are both very good things, and I can appreciate and high five for both of them. But you know who can't? The state of Texas. The state of Texas. This is the segue into the politics. You see, I'm very good at this. Uh, has it gotten their pornography banned? So let's go over here to the webcam screen and turn off the game capture and turn on the window capture. And then we click right here and we go to ba-bam. Look at that. Since we're talking about people taking their clothes off, uh, the Supreme Court decides to the, the Supreme Court declines to block Texas pornography restriction. The pornography industry challenged the state's law age verification provision, saying it places an unlawful burden on adults wishing to access content. So, what has happened here? The state of Texas said that you must provide some sort of identification or else you're not allowed to get on that website. The website has said, we don't want their identification. We don't want to keep track of their identification. We don't want state driver's licenses to be uploaded to our website and then have us keep it because that's a hacker's that's a sweet morsel for hackers. They would hack into the Pornhub website, steal that identification information, and then use it nefariously. Hackers would love that. They don't want to keep up with that. That's difficult, and it puts an undue burden on them, according to them, to keep track of those things. So they have decided to just not
Just the
offer
more notable
services.
sites and ones that actually comply driving traffic to less safe and reputable sites are VPN providers.
Absolutely correct. The VPN for, NordVPN is just absolutely salivating over this. They are just going to make way more money in Texas as the people in Texas pay for the VPN, say that they're in a different part of the world, and then get it anyway. Which children are smart enough to do? Maybe they're probably not smart enough to pay for the VPN, but they'll find a sketchy site that offers VPN services, and so they'll just do that. I mean, kids are ingenious when it comes to breaking the rules their entire lives. I don't know if you've ever met a child or were one at some point. All children, all of them, are very good at skirting rules. It's their entire life, man. Like, their entire life is finding out what's allowed, finding out a way to just slightly sneak by it, or sneak under it, or break it while no one's looking. That is the essence of childhood. In all cultures, all places, all the world over. Skirt the rules, bend the rules, sneak under the rules, fly under the radar, break those rules when no one's looking. That is the essence of childhood. Honestly, what was everybody doing when I was a kid? Speakers in their car. You know, that was just the biggest fucking thing. I thought that was going to be a really big part of me being an adult. When I was in like eighth and ninth grade, I thought the most important thing about being an adult was the speakers in your car and the tint on your windows. I come from a very weird place. But those kids in when I was in growing up
There ain't no strings on me.
um, would talk about the rules and the laws for window tint on their cars. This was the most, I thought that they were crazy, and I pretended to care about it because I didn't want to be an alien or a weirdo outsider. I was like, yeah, sure is 12% window uh, shade. Yeah, okay, yeah. You're allowed to have 14% down to 3 inches. Now, it was so fucking weird. I didn't get it. I hated it. I hate car culture, and I was a outsider entirely. But it was a car culture, and I didn't want to be a part of that car culture, so I had to pretend. Where was I ranting with this? The kids will find a way to break those rules. They will find what the rules are and they will walk right up to the edge. And then they will push 1 centimeter over the edge. When I was a kid back then, you were allowed to have certain stereos and stuff like that. You couldn't be above certain decibels, and they would tweak it so that it would be exactly that much, and then they would be uh, allowed to put so much 14% window tint on their thing, and they would put 14.5 or something like that, or they would put 15%, just to irritate the shit out of the people who don't want to, who would give them grief. Something not being allowed immediately garners interest. Exactly. Correct. I agree. The fact that there's a rule that says 14%, they would immediately go and put 15%. What are you going to do about
Cheating in online games leads to all of the biggest cybercrimes.
it? There you go. Uh, so, what have they done a good thing here? I don't think so. I think this will lead to the young people just skirting the laws and dodging the rules, and it will cause the adults to pay money to VPNs to get it anyway, and it will cause the dumber, less intelligent adults to have their identity stolen. The people who aren't smart enough or not wealthy, VPNs aren't expensive, but they are a thing that you need to know how to do and how to set up. And if you don't know what a VPN is or how to get one or don't trust one or something like that, you'll go for a cheap one.
FKVP must have lost his last duos match.
It's true. Uh, if you don't know how to get one, if you don't know how to do one, if you don't know how to set it up properly, you could do a bad job and get your shit stolen. You will get hacked if you go to a cheap cut rate VPN or you click on any link, honestly, on the internet anywhere. If you're dumb, you're going to get your shit stolen. You're going to have your information stolen. You're going to have your identity stolen, and this will lead to more of it. But they don't care.
Thank you for following the Opinionator.
Ooh, we got a follower. It was the Opinionator. Thanks for following. You turned a frog gay. I hope you're proud of yourself. I'm proud of you.
Don't celebrate yet.
Don't celebrate yet. Because you're gonna.
I am a Trump guy.
Oh no. Well, why would you do that? Anyway, we're talking about this. Hit me with your hot takes, though. So, let's say that these one provision of the law, known as HB 1181, mandates that platforms verify users' age, requiring them to submit information about their identities. Although the law is aimed at limiting children's access to sexually explicit content, the lawsuit focuses on how those measures also affect adults. Specifically, the act requires adults to comply with the intrusive age verification. They're calling it intrusive. So the website is saying this is intrusive and shouldn't be done. In response, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton wrote in his own brief that state law simply
You excited
requires
for
the
November?
pornography industry to make billions of dollars from peddling smut to take commercially reasonable steps to ensure that those who access the material are adults. Yes, I'm very excited for November. November, gonna be a whole thing. I'm gonna watch, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna stream all of the exciting uh, things that happen. Election season is exciting for somebody who streams politics like me, who
I
watches them a lot.
predict a sweeping Trump victory provided the Democrats aren't up to their usual tricks like ballot harvesting and such.
Sweeping Trump victory, I doubt it, provided the Democrats aren't up to their usual tricks like ballot harvesting and such. Ballot harvesting isn't voting.
Ratings are gonna be great.
My ratings are going to be great, hopefully. Um, but ballot harvesting isn't a trick.
Lol, it wasn't sweeping last 2 elections.
That's true too. Ballot harvesting is a bit of misinformation that you've probably been fed and enjoy. You love the idea that ballot harvesting is the reason Donald Trump lost. It's not. He got fewer votes. Ballot harvesting usually is putting out going to places and telling people how to register to vote, giving them the means and giving them the paperwork so that they can register. You then
Election was rigged, cope.
No, it wasn't. You're the one coping, my man. The election was fair, honest, and correct. You don't like the result, so you feel like it was rigged because you are based on feelings. All politics are based on feelings. Yours, mine, Donald Trump's, Joe Biden's, RFK Jr.'s politics are based on feelings.
Wrong.
Feelings, my man. All politics are based on feelings. All of them. They always
Sounds
have
like
been.
you're trying to cope by saying your team didn't win.
And everything is political. So those are the two big ideas that I have.
Cope.
Those are the two big ideas that I have. All politics are based on feelings, and
My
everything is
team didn't
political.
win, so the refs are in on it.
So, uh, why do I think that?
This is a low-effort troll.
Maybe. No, I don't think so. Um, he came in, he told us what he was going to do, and he hit the follow button. That's why I'm giving him a couple of minutes before I turn text to speech off and continue with the porn talk. I appreciate you coming in, the opinionator. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming. Thanks for trying. Um, the let's see. All politics are based on feelings. This is what I want you to understand. You have a feeling that Donald Trump is saying and doing the right things, and the things that he
I
says are
am not
good.
trolling lol. Trump is gonna win, and I am here for it.
We're gonna watch. There's a chance that he does win. If Biden goofs it up, if the left abandons Biden over his Gaza takes, there's a chance that Trump could win. I'm not saying it's impossible. At the moment, it doesn't look very likely to me, but I think it is possible. The fact that the trials got pushed back till after the election is a good thing for him, for Donald Trump.
Bro, the left is so far left that you guys are fighting each other now. Well,
That's always happened. My man, the left has always fought each other. They always have. The left is filled with purity testing, and that's not a good thing. Uh, I agree. That is a thing that happens. The left does always fight each other. If I go onto a different leftist stream and
to
say,
us, you're all libtards.
yeah, I know, but because you like to
Infighting
feel
is
that
just
way,
politics.
infighting is part of politics. Yeah, I agree.
I am still holding out hope that the Republicans can find someone that isn't 50.
No, they won't. Not until the baby boomers really lose prominence within our society. The baby boomers see anyone younger than them as a child. This is an issue. So they don't want to support anyone younger than them. They are the majority. Anyone younger than them is ill equipped and completely unqualified in their eyes. Hence, they will always, as a majority, support the people who are their age or older. Once they start to die off, then we can possibly have a different group of people start taking over. That would be nice. Not going to happen for another 10, 15 years, I suspect anyway. Um, but yes, there's a non-zero chance that Trump wins. I'm not happy about that. He's going to push full authoritarianism. He's going to fire everybody who disagrees with him politically. He's going to drain the swamp and fill it with Trump-branded swamp water, and it's going to be bad. Oh, it's going to be real bad. The rules are going to go out the door. They're going to ignore the law. They're going to do whatever they want. The judge in his New York case is going to be investigated for imaginary made-up crimes. U.S. Americans are so involved in their own politics, they draw lines and fight and argue with each other. I actually think that's a good thing, Sewells. I think the fact that you can have the opinionator in here, you can have Sewells in here, and we can talk about these things is fun and interesting. That's just me anyway. The fact that the left does argue with itself, also a good thing. I love that idea. I love the idea of perfecting and sharpening your own ideology to a very fine point.
Cutting bureaucracy isn't authoritarian, and much of the rest of what you said is just speculation fueled by CNN fake news.
Why do you
Trump
feel
brand swamp water now with 30 less water.
30% less water? That's right. You feel like CNN is fake news, the opinionator. That's a feeling you have because you don't like what they have to say. What CNN tells you disagrees with your beliefs, so you
You trust
feel.
CNN.
You trust
L.
CNN more than I trust you. Yes. More than I trust you. Yes. They are biased, sure, but they're not setting out completely fake narratives. They're not pushing fake news the way Donald Trump does. They're not pushing fake news the way a lot of the hard right people do. They're not pushing fake
I
news.
am sure you also think Jussie Smollett was truthful.
No, he was a liar. He lied. And we caught him in a lie. And now nobody on the left takes him seriously anymore. That's the difference. So Jesse Smollett says a bunch of things. They turned out to be lies. We don't listen to him anymore. We don't think he said a true thing anymore. And I will tell you that he's a liar. Are you going to say the same about Mike Pillow, the Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, who lied a lot and lied to your face, but you're going to keep supporting him? We know he lied. We know he's a liar. We know he's in billions of dollars of debt because of those gigantic, amazing, massive lies. Massive lies from Mike Pillow.
Mike Lindell is an idiot and not even that important to Trump supporters, lol.
I disagree. I agree with you the first part. He is an idiot, but he is important to the Trump supporters. He's still a big figure on that side. So he's a liar too. Great. The opinionator, you can be reasoned with. I appreciate that. Thank you. You know he was a liar. If you had defended him, I would yell at you about defending a known liar. So we're going to get back on the politics.
Not everyone on our side holds the same views.
I agree. I know that. The lady Canuch has been turned off, so I can finish this little segment. But by all means, keep chatting, and I'll keep reading them. A federal judge ruled that the provision at issue was problematic because it was so much broader impact than merely restricting access to minors. On appeal of Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled the state 2-1 refused to put its decision on hold pending Supreme Court review. In the aftermath of the decision, several online pornography platforms, including Pornhub, barred people from Texas from accessing the site out of concern of the provisions going into effect. So what's going to happen is the people of Texas are going to lose all this access to it because this website doesn't want their personal information to be kept and tracked and connected because it will be a source of identity theft. And if a hacker hacks Pornhub, steals your identity from Texas, do you get to then sue Pornhub? The courts of Texas and the Supreme Court are going to say yes to that. So hoping, and then the Republican plan is that those lawsuits are so harmful that they have to shut down. This is a ban on porn. They want that stuff gone. None and done. That's what they want. They want it gone. They want it destroyed. Project 2025, which I've read, the Project 2025 books, all talk about banning it completely through the entire country. All of it, everywhere. Even from the legitimate sites, even through the ones that verify your age. They want all of it banned. All of it. And that is what they're pushing for, one little bit at a time. They're doing incrementalism as well, because I do incrementalism all the time. I talk about incrementalism and how we baby step, one little bit to the left. They're doing it to the right as well. So, blue balls in Texas. Hope you're not there getting the blue balls. What do we have to talk about today? Let's look at nationwide protests and the ongoing humanitarian disaster in Gaza. What do you guys feel about these protests? Opinionator, if you're still here, tell us what you think about these protests. Let's read what. Oh, actually, I think this is just a reading of the stuff Bernie says. So let's listen to the man himself. Let's listen to Bernie. Who loves Bernie? I love Bernie. Everybody does. Let's hear what he has to say.
You ready for a very radical statement? Well, here it goes. I support the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, and this is what it says, quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Excellent point, Bernie. Opinionator, why would I support pro-Hamas demonstrations? Because they're pro-Palestine demonstrations. They're not pro-Hamas, they're pro-Palestine. There's a difference. Do you know the difference? I don't know.
End of quote. Let us be clear. Protests and demonstrations have played an enormously important and positive role in modern American history. Without protests led by Dr. King and others, we would not have made progress in eliminating segregation in America and combating racism. Without protests, women in America would still be second-class citizens, unable to control their own bodies or have equal opportunities in the workforce. Without protests, many of our gay brothers and sisters would still be hiding their sexual identity. Today, on college campuses all over this country, students are exercising their constitutional right to protest. They are standing in opposition to American policy, which is providing...
Sorry about that. We went to an ad, and now I want to do this whole thing outside the ads because I'm dumb. So, yeah, I don't really entirely know how this whole Twitch thing works, but I know it tells me sometimes that there are ads, and those are going to be for another 15 seconds. So if you're watching, if you're on Kick, you probably don't have any ads, but on Twitch we do, apparently, and those will be over in 5 seconds. Thanks for coming. I hope that it's over now. There we go. All right, and back from the ad. So, uh, there's a difference between a Hamas demonstration and a pro-Palestine demonstration. These are pro-Palestine people doing pro-Palestine things, not being pro-Hamas. If you think that they're supporting the murder of people, you're wrong. That's not what they're doing. That's not what they're asking for. That's not what those protesters are asking for. And Bernie gets it. Who's doing pro-Hamas demonstrations? I've only seen protests about Israel's actions against Palestine. Exactly. So let's listen to what Bernie has to say. Sorry if you're hearing it for the second time, but we got interrupted by those lovely ads.
Ready for a very radical statement. Well, here it goes. I support the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, and this is what it says, quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances, end of quote. Let us be clear. Protests and demonstrations have played an enormously important and positive role in modern American history. Without protests led by Dr. King and others, we would not have made progress in eliminating segregation in America and combating racism. Without protests, women in America would still be second-class citizens, unable to control their own bodies or have equal opportunities in the workforce. Without protests, many of our gay brothers and sisters would still be hiding their sexual identity. Today, on college campuses all over this country, students are exercising their constitutional right to protest. They are standing in opposition to American policy, which is providing billions of dollars for Netanyahu's right-wing extremist Israeli government's war against the Palestinian people. A war which has already killed 33,000 Palestinians and injured 77,000 more.
That's a lot.
2/3 of whom are women and children.
That's a lot.
A war which has destroyed or damaged more than half of the housing in Gaza. A war which has essentially annihilated the healthcare system in Gaza.
Because all the hospitals have been bombed and destroyed.
A war which has done incredible damage to the civilian infrastructure in Gaza, electricity, clean water, and sewage. A war which has bombed every one of the 13 universities in Gaza and left hundreds of thousands of children without schooling. In my view, demonstrations must be nonviolent. Not only is that the right thing to do, it is the most effective thing to do. The focus must be on the suffering of the people in Gaza, not bricks flying through windows. And absolutely, we must all work together to make certain that we free our country from all forms of bigotry, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism, homophobia, and every other form of hatred.
All right, super cool. Way to go, Bernie. Thomas is here, so I'm going to hop into chat, and I'm going to hop into the thing and listen to him. If you want to be on, if you want to listen, he and I will discuss it. He would be furious if I paid thousands of tuition and some clowns decided to prevent me from going to class or conflict. All right. Hello, Mr. Thomas. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, no. That's weird. I can hear you. And my Discord seems to be lighting up every time I speak.
There we go.
All right. Yeah, Discord's lighting up when I speak,
Wait.
so I think it's all right.
Mm.
All right. Thomas is here, folks. He has returned from his European tour where he was spreading democracy. I've been making up more ridiculous lies about why you're over there. Every day.
Not
I assume that you were um, passing out uh,
There we go. I
ketchup
got it.
packets and wearing a loud Hawaiian shirt. That would be the most American thing for you to do. So that would be very cool and very awesome of you to do.
All right. Got the sound fixed.
Oh, good. Okay. Hi. Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Did you spread a lot of democracy over in Europe?
Oh, they already have that over there. So I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
need
what I
to.
thought. I've been telling people more ridiculous lies about what you do and what you've been over there for. I've been telling them that you were wearing a very loud Hawaiian shirt and passing out non-recyclable single-use ketchup packets.
Hey, you weren't supposed to tell people about that.
And he went to Europe and gave them a bunch of ketchup and freedom and democracy. Uh,
You know, their ketchup does taste different over there.
I would
Weird.
imagine it's probably not full of sugar. Uh, it's the American version that's just sugar water, uh, or sugar paste, I suppose. So yeah, there's this protest thing going on, and I saw your comment here, and that's how I knew you were in chat. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the Discord, but
No worries.
yeah, if you paid thousands of dollars to go to Colombia, they taught you about the protests against the Vietnam War. They have photos of it in their halls. They brag at Columbia about the Vietnam protests that happened there, the very famous ones that were all over the TV at the time. You can find a bunch of black and white photos of thousands of students sitting around protesting the Vietnam War. And
Uh-huh.
then it happened again in the 80s with anti-apartheid in South Africa. Colombia brags about it, but when it
Well, so
happens, they call the cops. You can it's hypocritical of them to do both of those things.
maybe I would first look at the motivations for each. I'd say that with the Vietnam War, the students, some of them might have actually have gone to college as a method of avoiding going to war in the first place.
Right.
And then they probably had family, brothers and fathers or sons and whatnot that went over to Vietnam and fought in that war.
Hmm.
Um, so it had an impact on their lives.
I agree.
That's something that I'd be more amenable to if I was a student there and they were like, engaging in protests that way. Uh, this has nothing to do with most of these students. This current thing that they're protesting.
They're asking for
Um,
their colleges to divest and stop giving money to the state of Israel and companies that are based in Israel. The colleges are gigantic economic machines, and we don't know how much of their money they're giving to companies or how much they're profiting from the state of Israel. They would like to know that, and they're suggesting that they divest. That's the purpose of that one, of the college. They want the college to divest, and yes, they do want the United States government to divest as well.
why?
Why? Because they
Yeah, why?
think that the Israeli government is doing a genocide. I
That's
would
silly.
say that they're definitely doing an ethnic cleansing, bordering, they're getting close to genocide. If their government is doing that and your college is giving them money, can you tell them to stop? If the Israeli government is doing that and my government is doing that, is helping them and giving them money and weapons, can't I tell them to stop?
I suppose, but the way I would probably do that is I would stop going to that school.
Well, they already paid thousands of dollars, and it's a protest school. It's a school that prides itself on those protests. I think it's
Evidently not.
it, uh, only in the history. That's the issue. I think they pride themselves on that history, but they don't want it today. That's an issue I think with most people. Hey, history's real good. I'm glad we did those protests. I'm glad MLK marched across that bridge. But motherfucker, get out of my way right now. I need to cross this bridge. I got to get to work and I need to drive across this bridge. And there's a fucking protester in my way. It's a very easy trap to fall into. It's a very uh, simple thing to fall into. I would be irritated if I were behind a whole lot of protesters and I needed to be someplace and wanted to be someplace else. That would probably irritate me. I can imagine that. But hopefully, I could look at the bigger picture and say, yeah, the civil rights protests were marching down the road. They blocked a bridge. It was probably inconvenient for the people on the back behind them. But we don't remember
Probably.
those people. We don't remember those people. We don't celebrate the people who were stuck behind the people marching across the bridge. But with social media, we get to see them, and they get to vent their frustrations right now. Sewell's in chat, YouTube chat says, as a U.S. citizen, I do not want my government to support atrocities. So that's kind of where the students are coming from. They're at college. That's the right place to do protests. Honestly, swear to God, protests should happen at colleges. That's where they're born. That's where they start. That's where these people ought to be protesting. It is a collection of ideas. The overall brain, high-minded ideal of a college is a place where learned people come together to learn more, share information, and prepare for the future. So that kind of thing. So I think protests are at those colleges are a good idea.
It's first of all probably not even as simple as just, oh, this college does business with Israel and they need to stop doing that.
Right. It is incredibly complicated. You're right.
I mean, the idea that these dollars are just being sent over to Israel for Israel to buy guns and blow people up, it's not how that works.
I agree.
They're probably invested in funds in order to, support the college, and those funds might invest in certain Israeli activities and whatnot, or companies. But
yes,
I mean, it's a lot. It's kind of a big deal to be moving all those funds around, and how much really is even going to Israel? Probably not a lot of it, I would guess.
Nobody's entirely sure.
But nobody's even sure. And they're not even sure if it's even happening. They don't know if their college is funding Israel. So, I mean,
right, because it's hidden behind, it's hidden within a bit of administrative paperwork.
Well, there's layers to it too, right? I mean,
is this company supporting them or not? Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Right. So, like, I mean, if you invest in a fund that owns, let's say, like Lockheed Martin shares, right?
Mhm.
And Lockheed Martin does business with Israel. Is that supporting Israel by investing in that fund?
Difficult question.
And are the students trying to get them to divest from those funds because they have defense contractors in them that might work with Israel?
Very difficult question.
Well, what the fuck are they protesting about then?
One,
I mean,
prove that you've divested. Two, put some paperwork out, being like, here's our budget. Have a look at it. Here's the things we did. Here's the things we divested from. Here's the things that we aren't going to divest from, and then you can discuss that. And they are actually doing the peacenik kind of thing and saying, hey, don't support this genocide. Don't support this atrocity. And it is going to move on to the government. They are also protesting their government doing this thing, which I think Biden has been really bad on. He has been a big wimp. He is from an older generation, and so he thinks that Israel is right and correct and proper and doing everything exactly right, and he's been supporting them. And then the left has been upset about that. They've been griping about him. They've been complaining, hey, what are you doing? Stop doing this. And then the kids are not on his side anymore, which is probably why he did all those moves over the past couple of days.
Well, I will say this.
Mm-hmm.
If you wish to protest the business activities of an organization, vote with your wallet. I know they've already paid tuition for this semester, don't pay it for the next one. Don't go to college, or find one that you agree more with. Vote with your wallet, cause them to lose money.
I agree with that statement. They're a little late to the party. I mean, what if they're 3 years into what if you're in your third year of this 4-year college right now and seeing this
National
thing?
accreditations exist.
Okay.
Find another college with the same accreditations so that your courses all transfer.
But don't protest. Don't try to force them to be better. Don't try to make them better.
Protest.
It is a form of protest, sure. But camping on the lawn, that's not an acceptable form of protest.
I mean, sure, it is. It's just useless. I think it's not a worthwhile
No, it's not
demonstration.
useless. No, the Vietnam ideas about Vietnam changed after those college protests. The
I think the ideas about Vietnam changed after somebody's brother got sent to war and potentially died, or got hit with Agent Orange over there. Uh, I don't know how much the protests had to do with that.
okay, it's all individual personality, atomization, maybe. The people who were against it were only against it because they were personally harmed by it.
There were a lot of those people, I would
Yeah.
say, and yeah, I mean, there's concentric circles, right? Of how does it impact you, right? Maybe it's not your brother, maybe it's your friend, or maybe it's your brother's friend, right? But
Hmm.
still, you don't want to see that guy have to go over there and get shot at by the Viet Cong. So you are against the war, right?
Right. And then it keeps going on, even though you don't want it to, even though, what's his name, President Nixon said, I'm going to end it. And then he expanded it into Cambodia, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong about those facts, but if I remember correctly, President Nixon says, okay, we're going to end this. I hear you. We're going to end it. And then later he's like, okay, we're going to go into Cambodia, which the people saw as an expansion of that war. And then they started protesting. And then they stopped going to college. And then the college protests got violent because the cops came in and busted them up violently. And then the entire country started looking at it and then saying, hey, what are they doing and why are they doing it? They're doing the same thing that I think you're doing right now, which is why are they doing the protest? Paying attention to it. Protest brings attention, and then you see why they're doing it. And maybe if it's a bad thing, if it's a wrong thing, like Vietnam was, like apartheid in South Africa, like this ongoing ethnic cleansing, you could say, let's stop doing that.
Well, I'm gonna give a second suggestion.
Sure.
Protest somewhere where it makes a much larger impact. Do it in front of a government building. The colleges can't change policy on Israel. If you're going to protest in front of someone who can.
I can appreciate the sentiment you're going for here, but this is where all the protesters are. They're in college. College kids are far more likely to protest. They have the time and they don't have a huge job right now. And that's where all the people that agree with you are concentrated. So you get people to show up. If we had if I leveraged my entire audience to go protest in front of the thing that's near them, it would be spread out across the country. We'd have one in California, one in Seattle, one in Texas, one in Florida, something along those lines. And it wouldn't be concentrated. The college is where it's concentrated, which is why it happens, I think, at those colleges. You're right that college doesn't change policy, but it's the place that gets people concentrated, and then people pay attention to it.
I would say that they probably, I'd say the reason that this happens at colleges primarily is because college students have so little to worry about that they're worried about a conflict 6,000 miles away.
I can agree to that to some extent.
When you have
If
problems in your own life, you tend not to engage in this kind of stuff.
if you're working 60 hours a week, you don't have time to think about protests. I dig that. I can appreciate that. They do have more time to worry about it, and they are far more passionate because if I'm going to suggest their age. Uh, College kids are far more passionate about what's going on with their lives, and they are in a place. Again, the college is telling them and preparing them mentally for the future. So if they are looking at the future and they see these bad things happening, they're going to protest them and suggest that they be done a different way. The college all the time tells kids, "Hey, you're the leaders of tomorrow. You're the people who are going to run this country in the future." And they're seeing the country being run poorly. They're seeing things they don't agree with. Colleges are a future-looking organization.
I guess. I mean, I guess it's a sign of the times, a sign that things are pretty good when the protests are not about stuff at home, and they're about stuff that has nothing to do with us.
Another good point that I think you're making there, that yes, this is a war that's happening over there. We're not happy with the way it's being waged and what they're doing it and the reasons that the powerful are doing it for. And so we are complaining about it here. Yes, I agree with you. That means maybe we're doing okay. They're not
Yeah.
screaming about they're not overly protesting certain things, but ethnic cleansing and genocides tend to get the protesters out. And I'm on their side. I think they're correct. The Vietnam protesters were correct. The anti-apartheid South African protesters correct, and these guys are correct. And I think 20 years from now, Columbia University will have a new president who puts up photos of the kids today, and they brag about it.
Oh, probably.
And they talk about how great they are and how much they love the First Amendment, and they're going to keep continuing on this tradition of protest, and they're going to support it. And then if it happens, they're going to call the cops. I don't think it's fair to be dismissive of them just because they have the time to think critically about the state of the world and protest art, philosophy, and progression of blossoms for free time. Yeah, I agree, Sewells. I know what you're saying. I'm not trying to be dismissive of them. I'm saying that, yes, they are in a position to do the protests. I am less in a position because I have shit to do. So they have the capability of doing protests, and that's why I'm okay with it being at the college. They have the time, they have the personnel, they have the ideas, they have the cohesiveness, I suppose, of a kind of a community. So that makes protests much better. If I started a protest in my neighborhood, I would have to find out what everybody's ideas are, you know? I would have to build a community, and then it would be much less cohesive than a college campus. Which is why you honestly the cohesiveness of all of the people being at that college at the same time, and knowing what's going on, knowing who people are, and being able to go to the club and walking from your dorm to for 4 minutes to the other side and seeing the clubs and stuff like that, and people talking and being very passionate, would lead to protests. This is why the protests happen there as well. They form organically there. It's where protests are born.
Yeah. I mean, it is pretty easy to pick up ideas there, I suppose.
Mhm.
That's what the college is for. So
It's an idea house. Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, this is. So let's go over here. Today in history, May 4th, 4 killed during anti-war protest at Kent State University. So this was the anniversary today of the Kent State shooting, which was where was it National Guard shot some people. On May 4th, 1970, Ohio National Guardsmen opened fire during anti-war protest at Kent State University, killing 4 students and wounding 9 others. We don't want it to get to this point. Well, that's dumb. Why? This is a bad site. But anyway, we don't want it to get to that point because that was unarmed peaceful protesters being shot because they were protesting. I think that's a bad idea. I think that cops today using pepper spray, violence, and stuff like that to drag people out of this place is going too far.
it's I mean,
Mhm.
it's private property, right? And so the colleges let them be there to do the protests, and then when it's time to stop, or when the colleges have had enough, they say, okay, that's enough, and then they don't leave, and then they call the cops in.
Right.
I mean, that is what happens.
Right. I don't want that to happen. I wish they'd quit being wimps. Let them protest. Is it annoyance? Yes. Is it private property? Yes. Protests are supposed to be disruptive. They're intended to be. It's like their purpose is to disrupt the things that are happening. You're supposed to have things like that happen. I mean, that's how protests are supposed to be, and we are supposed to recognize that and kind of appreciate it. I appreciate it. I think it's a good thing that bridge that Martin Luther King Jr. walked across was disrupted. The traffic is disrupted when the people are sitting in the road. Disruption is the point. Disruption is the purpose.
Sure, but this is a private, like I said, a private institution. That
Hmm.
bridge is public. Um, this is a private institution that said, okay, you can't be here anymore doing this.
Right.
And they said, no, we're going to keep doing this. And they said, okay, we're going to call the cops.
And they said, okay.
I
I
mean,
mean, this is the system working properly. This is not a failure of the system. This is the system intentionally working exactly as it's supposed to. This is how it's supposed to work. Hopefully, the cops take them out slowly and gently and not by harming them, and they don't get permanently maimed or damaged, and they don't get 4 of them shot by the State National Guard. That's the
that is
system
the hope,
breaking
yes.
down. So I think this is all going just according to plan. This is exactly what we ought to be doing, and it's working appropriately.
All according to Keikaku.
To what?
So all according to Keikaku. Keikaku means plan.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was like, who's
I was
Keikaku?
memeing.
Okay,
Sorry.
who's Keikaku? I was like, I was about to Google their name. Yeah,
No,
all
so
according to plan.
the meme is in Death Note. The original, the first time it came over to the English language was a fan sub.
Yeah, I remember fan subs.
Yeah. And so on the fan sub, the translator decided to leave the word Keikaku in there. So Light says all according to Keikaku, and then there's a in parentheses at the top of the screen it says translator's note, Keikaku means plan. And
I
it's
just put
like,
the
why
word plan.
wouldn't you just write plan there?
Right, you had to do more work. Yeah, I remember fan subs. That was a thing way back in the day. Yeah, I was watching Naruto on fan subs and Bleach on fan subs back before Crunchyroll was the thing. Um, it was an era of a type of anime. Um, all according to Keikaku. I like that. I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna make it into a screenshot or something. Okay. House passes bill to expand definitions of anti-Semitism amid growing campus protests over Gaza war. Have you seen this? I know you're just back from Europe where they don't have newspapers or internet, but have you seen this bit about the House passing what I think is thought crime legislation?
Yeah, what did they expand it to?
The House passed legislation Wednesday that would establish a broader definition of anti-Semitism for the Department of Education to enforce anti-discrimination laws. The latest response from lawmakers to a national-wide student protest movement over the Israel-Hamas war. The proposal, which passed by a lot, would codify the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism into Title VI, Civil Rights Act 1964. Blah, blah, blah. Action on the bill was
What's the definition?
latest. It's real broad. If passed by the Senate, signed into law, this bill would broaden the legal definition of anti-Semitism to include targeting of the state of Israel, conceived as a Jewish collectivity. Critics say that the move would have a chilling effect on free speech throughout college campuses. So the
Yeah, I don't
targeting
support this. That's fucking
of
stupid.
the state of Israel conceived by Jewish collectivity. So if you complain about Israel, if you make actions to boycott Israel, you would be doing a hate crime.
Yeah, that's idiotic. They definitely shouldn't be passing this.
It has, at the moment, passed the House. It's very likely to get shot down in the Senate. Some people complain about it over here. Speech. This is Jerry Nadler, Democrat, saying speeches that is critical of Israel alone does not constitute unlawful discrimination. And I can agree with that sentence. And I think you agree with that sentence, that being critical of Israel does not constitute unlawful discrimination. You're not doing a hate crime when you say, hey, I would like the Israeli military to stop doing things, or I don't like the way they did this. By encompassing purely political speech about Israel into Title VI's ambit, the bill sweeps too broadly. So that is the criticism, where the supporters are suggesting that Israel is a collective, and complaining about Israel is complaining about Jews. And so they're suggesting that is not acceptable.
Yeah, no. Israel is a country. You can say that they're doing bad things. This is ridiculous. What a ridiculous bill.
Um,
Uh,
Now for the contentious part, maybe that people are going to argue over, I suppose. The words. Among the questions campus leaders have struggled to answer is whether phrases like "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" should be considered under the definition of anti-Semitism.
no.
I agree. It shouldn't be considered anti-Semitism. Those words are allowed, I would say. I don't want that to be an illegal phrase. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. But the argument that the Jewish people make is that Hamas says it, and when they say it, they mean kill all the Jews between the river and the sea.
Okay.
That's, and I think that's a stretch. I really think it is. Uh,
You
so
know, Adolf Hitler really liked dogs, and you have a dog in your house,
I
Waldo.
do have a dog.
So I think you should really reconsider your anti-Semitism.
Hitler and I have that in common. We appreciate dogs. Uh, and I think this is a stretch. I think that sentence right there, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, can be made with hatred, I suppose. You could have a hateful motive behind it, but the words themselves shouldn't be a crime. It should not be a crime to say those words.
No.
Um, but then Popog, fan of the show, not here at the moment, I think, but brought it up yesterday to mention that the 14 words used by Nazis are generally considered hate speech. And I think that they're more, I would accept that those 14 words being hate speech because they mention a specific race doing better than all the others. And um, so and that is the contention he brought up yesterday. I don't know if you want to weigh in on that. You don't have to, but um,
Not really. But well, so with this particular line, um, from the river to the sea. So I suppose, does that include the state of Israel, which might be in between the river and the sea? And are they considering Palestine to be all of that?
they uh, it didn't used to be, but Israel has moved into that area. Yes, that is their contention. They're saying that Israel is taking our land. That is what they're implying there. That we had land by the 1960 borders, and Israel has come across those borders and set up those settlements. Those are the settlements that you hear about all the time, and that they are taking our land from us. And if we
Gotcha.
complain, and if the Palestinians complain about someone taking their land, the cops show up, and the cops are Israeli, and those cops take the Israeli side every time and are treating the Palestinians as second-class citizens who do not have rights and do not have authority. And if you fight in a worst-case scenario, uh, according to the Palestinians, I've never been there, so I don't know. I'm just reading what they say. They have homes. A Jewish settler comes in and sets up camp, like in their home. And if you complain and if you try to get the cops to show up, an Israeli cop shows up and takes the Israeli person's side. And if you fight them, they shoot you and you die. That's an extreme version, but that's the thing that they're telling us. That's what they're trying to say to us.
Okay, so from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free does not include, uh, or does not require Israel to be wiped off the map.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, then it's fine.
I think so too. I think so too. Um, but it is a common saying of Hamas, and we all don't like Hamas. So you shouldn't be allowed to say their sayings. And so that's what the House has said. And there are a lot of people complaining about this. I think this guy complains about it. The House passed the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. The bill empowered the Department of Education to crack down on anti-Semitism on college campuses. Nearly 24 right-wing Republicans voted against it. So actually there are 24 hard right Republicans who voted against this thing because they are pro-free speech, which would have killed it if 133 Dems, but the Dems voted for it because they don't want to be anti-Semitic. In addition to 33 Republicans, the bill had 14 Democrat co-sponsors, mostly moderates and staunch Israel supporters. So the middle Democrats, the middle Republicans are all supporting this thing. The hard left is against it and the hard right is against it, which is an interesting situation, I think. Have we ever had that situation before?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a weird situation where, yeah, the hard left and the hard right are both agreeing on the thing, and the people in the center are all voting for it. Right-wingers and progressives objected to the bill's adaptation of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism, which includes some anti-Israel rhetoric. So let's see. Raskin's complaining about it. We already read his thing. This one, there is a more middle of the road bill that Raskin is pushing for, but that didn't get the votes because Mike Johnson didn't bring it up apparently, or something like that. They suggest that it's a political cudgel. Yeah. To have this issue continue to be one that is viewed as a political cudgel is deeply disturbing. Everything's political, so I don't know why this guy would complain about it. He's in the House. Everything's political. So I don't think it's going to go. They're saying that Biden might actually sign it, but it's unlikely to pass the Senate. So we don't know if it's going to come up or anything like that. Let's see. Wasn't there something else to talk about? Oh, okay. So this is Nancy Mace. Let's listen to what she has to say real quick.
Soros. There are Palestinian rights groups that I believe are involved, funded by George Soros, and they need to be off of our college campuses if they're committing violence, full stop.
All right. There's no proof that these are funded by George Soros, by the way, but their folks have denied that. But we'll see exactly where all of this money.
Did she just do an anti-Semitism by saying these protests are being paid for by George Soros? George Soros, part of AIPAC, he's pushing all these Soros bucks and having all these college campuses. He's behind. He's the puppet master. Is she doing an anti-Semitism?
No.
No? Maybe she is. Anybody who complains about George Soros, I don't know if you ever typed him into the Google machine, but you will really quickly get to the Jewish question. You will get to the Jews operating the media and running the media, and George Soros is paying all these agent provocateurs to go to do these protests, and the protests are not grassroots, and they're all astroturfed by George Soros paying for these things.
I don't think that's accurate. Well, maybe it is about like getting to the Jewish question by these Googlings and whatnot, but I don't think criticism of an individual for their behaviors constitutes anti-Semitism.
I agree. It shouldn't. Will
like
it if this bill passes? Will it if this new bill passes?
I guess maybe.
And couldn't I then bend this shit
bill?
Okay.
Which is I think is very stupid. It's like I think Israel's doing a bad thing is different from Israel is doing a bad thing. Those fucking Jews, like it's not the same.
Right. The people who criticize George Soros and cry conspiracy theories about George Soros generally, almost entirely, dislike Jewish people, and it takes just a very light. It only takes like a second or third sentence after George Soros to get into anti-Semitism. Really, I've been watching conspiracy theorists for a very long time. The people who complain about George Soros are anti-Jewish. They really are. And they're anti-Semitic, and so I think these Republicans are going to pass a law that would convict them and put them in hot water for complaining about George Soros, which they do all the time. Nancy Mace complains about George Soros all the time. Alex Jones complains about him all the time. We're about to hear
he's their boogeyman.
He's their boogeyman, and he's Jewish, and you can't complain about the boogeyman anymore if you're not allowed to do anti-Semitic things. They're shooting themselves in the foot.
I think that, does criticizing Bernie Sanders for his policies constitute anti-Semitism? He's Jewish.
I don't think so.
Well, I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so
it
either.
would.
Right.
Will it under this new
So
bill that they're passing? That's the thing that I'm trying to get
I
at.
don't think
If they're,
so.
oh, okay.
Uh, if that does come to pass, then
Hmm.
we would definitely have to rethink a lot a lot of our legislation.
Right. It would
Uh,
be ugly. It would be weird. All of a sudden, they would be in trouble. Okay, so here is Donald Trump complaining about George Soros. Is he, under this new bill, being anti-Semitic?
They've been after us for years, and they've destroyed
no, he's just striking out
people's
against the boogeyman.
lives.
Right.
They've gone out, hired
But that
lawyers. They've
boogeyman is
been with
Jewish, and haven't you read
lawyers
this new
for
law? You can't
years.
complain about Jewish people,
It's
or else
sucked
you're
dry
complaining about
up.
all of them, and you're
And
being
it's a
anti-Semitic.
shame. It's a shame what they've done to this country. And
I,
it's a shame what they've done
it's
to a lot of great people that have
it's a
been
mess.
absolutely
I don't agree with
ruined
the
and
law, but I think
destroyed. Not
you're
only
taking
him,
your
all
interpretation
of
of it
them.
too far.
I
These
am
are vicious,
intentionally.
vicious,
I'm doing the slippery slope.
radical left lunatics. The DA here is Soros-backed. They shouldn't be
Soros-backed
wasting
DA.
time on this. Look what they
So I am being slippery slopish about it. I am absolutely. I admit to that because I think it's funny.
Fair enough.
And the reason that you do a slippery slope fallacy is to see the unintended consequences down the line of the thing that you're pushing right now. The unintended consequences that Mike Johnson and the Republicans in the House have pushed right now is making certain phrases illegal. Certain words become hate crimes. I think that if you take their definition, Donald Trump and Nancy Mace there might have done some hate crimes. Maybe. If you slide down that slope far enough. Which is why you shouldn't start on the slope. Which is why I don't want this bill to pass. I think that it would harm free speech. Even of the free speech of Nancy Mace and Donald Trump. I don't want their free speech to be harmed either.
Well, that's nice.
And
I agree.
and I think that they are intentionally or unintentional. I think they're accidentally harming their own free speech. I think Nancy Mace supporting this bill is accidentally, unintentionally going to harm her free speech. But she's too dumb to know that, or she thinks that it just won't apply to her because she's a
Yeah.
Republican. Obviously,
Well, it
laws
is a
don't
really
apply to
stupid
them.
bill with bipartisan support.
Yeah, and it's all the people in the
It's
middle. It's the
amazing.
people in the middle. It's not those lunatics on the left, and it's not the crazy people on the right that are supporting this thing. I'm far left. I don't know if you're far right, but you and I both don't support it. But the people in the middle do, and that's weird.
Yeah.
Why would the middle support it? Because they want peace, not justice. They want peace and quiet, is what I'm suggesting. Why? Do you have an opinion on that? Why the middle would support it, but the far left and the far right wouldn't?
Mm, because the people on the middle, I don't think they have a, well, maybe they have a dog in the fight. I don't know. But I don't know, is it anti-Semitic for me to say that there's a lot of Israeli interests in our house, and the people in the middle probably don't care enough to push back against, the funding they might receive?
Entirely possible. They're normies. They're stuck in the middle. They're not picking a side. They just want things to kind of go the way that they've been going forever. They're status quo pilled. They're status quo brained. They just want things to go on like they always have. Entirely possible. That would be an explanation that I could see being correct. Okay. Anything
Yeah,
else to
that's
say
all I have to really say about that.
this? Okay, cool. So we're going to close that. We're going to close this one. The next, well, what else we got? I had this one ready to go. Texas man takes legal action against ex-partner who traveled to Colorado for an abortion. This is more of that chaos that I keep talking about. The woman reportedly traveled out to Colorado for the abortion earlier this year because it wasn't allowed in Texas, so she went to Colorado to get it done, and now he's suing her. Let's see, a Texas woman who traveled out of the state to get an abortion is being threatened with legal action by her ex-boyfriend, who also wants to target those who helped her. So he wants to sue the people who drove her and helped her, and possibly the doctors and nurses at that healthcare facility. The unnamed woman reportedly sought an abortion legally in Colorado in late February when her ex-partner Colin Davis found out about her plans. He retained an anti-abortion attorney. The lawyer threatened a full investigation, and people need to understand that this is not a crime to leave Texas or any other state in the country for an abortion. However, that hasn't stopped Mr. Davis and his attorney from pursuing legal action against a woman and those who claim were involved in the killing of his unborn child, a letter seen by the outlet said. Mr. Davis' argument appears to be those that helped his ex-girlfriend are the ones who broke Texas' strict abortion laws, which do allow citizens to sue anyone who aids or abets an illegal abortion, even if the woman herself cannot be sued. Aids and abets. I don't like it when I don't like the way that law is written. But
well, so in terms of chaos, this will be most likely a one and done. The ruling will be made, the precedent will be set, done. And then further instances where someone tries to make a lawsuit over this, I'm going to go ahead and assume that the court is going to say, no, you can't prosecute someone for, something that wasn't a crime in another state that they did over there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If marijuana is legal in Colorado and it's not legal in Texas, and you drive over to Colorado and smoke a blunt,
mm-hmm.
Texas can't prosecute you for that. So
right.
This is going to be the same thing. The wording of pursuing an illegal abortion, while it's not illegal in where did she go? Connecticut?
Colorado. She went from Texas
in Colorado. Oh yeah.
Same sense. Yeah.
Starts with a C. Yeah, she did the thing in Colorado, and it wasn't illegal there, so there was no illegal abortion to aid or abet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a nothing burger, and it's going to be they'll set the precedent that no, you can't do that, and then in the future, people that try to do this lawsuit, if they go forward with it, they just lose, and they're out their attorney fees because the judge is then going to point to that precedent and go, no, you're denied, and that's it.
Okay. That's how I think it's going to work out. I hope it does move forward in that direction. But you know what I'm going to say? Why did the two states have such different laws?
Oh, they have the right to.
Do they?
Yeah. That's their prerogative.
I don't think they should. I think that if they were working properly, they would have mostly similar laws. Though I don't think that Colorado and Texas, the weed example you gave, I don't think they should have two different laws. That's silly. I think that's ridiculous that there's two different laws in a place that you can just drive to. That sounds weird to me. Like, I can drive from Texas to Colorado. It doesn't take that long. And there's shockingly different laws. I think it's wild that you could drive from my house to Texas, but there's enough weed in my house to put a 17-year-old kid in Texas in jail for the rest of his life. And that's just okay.
No, I think that's perfectly fine.
I don't think that's perfectly fine. That sounds like a nightmare to me. That sounds insane to me.
The same way the laws are radically different if you drive from Texas to Mexico.
Mexico's a different country.
Okay, and Colorado's a different state.
Right. So they should have a lot more in common. They should have a lot more in common. Specific individual human freedoms shouldn't be swing so wildly between state lines. You can't easily, and I know this will start a completely different debate, but it's harder to cross the Mexican border than the Colorado border, right?
Right.
So that makes sense.
Theoretically.
Not to open that entire can of worms, but it is easier for me to go from Colorado to Texas than it is from Texas to Mexico, because that's a different country. There's lots of different laws. There's lots of different rules, and you're expected to recognize you are entering a new country. You should know that things are going to change. I think that Texas and Colorado are in the same country and ought to have mostly 90 to 95% similar laws.
And they largely do have similar laws. There's a few outliers, such as the abortion law.
And the weed, and usually guns, honestly.
Oh, and
I
guns too. That's
almost
a big one.
understand. I almost understand the gun laws, the idea for those. I mean, you should have different gun laws for Montana than you should for Illinois or in Chicago. You know, Chicago should have different gun laws than Montana. I think that's fine. Uh,
Well, yeah, and both. I mean, the drinking age in Texas and Colorado are both 21.
right, and that's a federal thing.
You know,
If they could change that, should they? I don't think they should.
ooh, technically it's not a federal thing, but the federal government will withhold funds from your state if you have it at a different age.
So it's basically a federal thing. Okay, so they've strong armed that damn federal government's strong arming our states, taking our states' rights away. So the federal government has strong armed them into forcing that. Would the federal government be wrong to strong arm people into weed decriminalization, similar to the drinking
Yeah,
age? They would be wrong to do
yeah.
that.
I mean,
Are
the
they wrong to
federal.
do the alcohol thing, in your opinion?
I think they are wrong to do the alcohol thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And I do think that it would be wrong for them to strong arm legislation of any of these kinds on a state. Um, I think that the states should have a lot more power over their own laws.
Okay.
We've had this conversation
Yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah.
But
And it keeps popping up. It is the big issue of our time, I suppose.
I do think I do like that we're rescheduling weed to a Schedule 3 instead of Schedule 1. I know we talked
Yes.
about that on a stream
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah. I mentioned that. Yeah, they're going from 1 to 3, which I think is a good thing. It gets the pharmaceutical companies. I know they're capitalist companies. I know. I'm going to complain about them, but it lets them experiment and things like that, and it's going to lead, I think, to more of the people who sell it and stuff like that, the ability to get banking and stuff like that. That's an issue with the dispensaries right now. Those people who sell it legally in the legal states, they have difficulty like obtaining bank uh, access, and people have to pay with cash. They're not allowed to use their cards. And stuff like that because they don't have access to banks. So you're always paying cash, and so that means that this place has a ton of uh, very delicious drugs and a large amount of cash on hand. They get robbed. And I think that's intentional. I think that's an intentional thing by the people who are anti-marijuana. They want that money there, and they want that difficulty to get into the bank, and they want that amount of delicious drugs sitting there so that they do, in fact, get robbed. Uh, cynically, they can then point to that as being a side effect of drugs and stuff like that, or scream about it as being the reason why we can't allow legalization because of all the violence. Or am I being conspiratorial?
I think it means conspiratorial, honestly.
Okay.
But yeah, honestly, I don't think it really should be scheduled at all.
Okay.
So maybe they'll move it down, or they'll take it off the schedule entirely at some point. But
Okay.
Until such time, we wait, I suppose.
Right. Okay, so let's see what else we've got. We've got good old Ron DeSantis bans global elite lab-grown meat. I saw this one pop up yesterday, and I wanted to talk about. I didn't know you were going to be here, but Ron DeSantis bans the global elites, the globalists. They want you to live in a pod, eat the bugs, and eat lab-grown meat. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has banned lab-grown meat, saying he will save our beef from the global elite and its authoritarian plans. Is lab-grown meat an authoritarian plan, Thomas?
I don't think so. This is a weird one.
It is weird, and that's why I brought it up, because weird is fun and silly. The Florida is fighting back against the global elite's plan to force the world to eat meat grown in a petri dish or bugs. The first in the nation law prohibits anyone from selling or distributing lab-grown meat in Florida. Similar efforts are underway in Alabama, Arizona, and Tennessee, bastions of intelligent thought. Lab-grown or cultivated meat was first cleared for consumption in the U.S. in 22. Okay, so it has passed the first little hurdle where it can be cultivated. And it's been cleared for consumption, that's what I mean. So studies have suggested that eating cultivated meat can cut carbon emissions and water usage and free up land for nature compared to eating traditionally produced meat. I've never had any, but there are people who have had some and said that it's just the same as any
Does it
meat
does
they've
it
ever had.
taste good?
I think
I mean,
so. The people who have gone to eat it, but they could be first adopters. The way people talk about how great Tesla cars are, they're invested. You know what I mean? You can't trust a guy who owns a Cybertruck to tell you how good the Cybertruck is. You can't. Uh, so
yeah,
the,
that
the
is a pretty stupid one.
so the people who've eaten it have suggested that it is fine, that it tastes like meat. They don't know the difference. It tastes good. It tastes exactly like the regular meat that they've had in the past. And I think that this is science finding a solution, and I'm on board for it. I think the idea that you could grow this stuff in a factory rather than a giant field with cows and stuff like that, and if you're doing less environmental stuff, we have more space within the rest of the world. I think that's a good thing. Uh, so yeah, and why would he be against it? Why would he come out against that? I want your idea. Why did Ron DeSantis do this? Because
I honestly have no idea.
I think I have an idea, and
Why?
because he's backward facing. His car is an R, and he's looking out that rearview mirror. This is a new thing. This is a progress thing. This is a future thing, and he doesn't like new things. He doesn't like progress things. He wants to go backward. Make America great again. He faces backward. This is forward, and he don't want it.
I don't know about that,
The
but
new the
I
new
mean,
thing is scary and dangerous.
I am not sure why he did this,
Okay.
but I have to look it up.
Okay. I'm generalizing, as I
The
always do.
headline is certainly silly.
Oh, yeah, he's bans global elite. He used the word global elite.
Yeah,
That's not a good thing. That's a Alex Jones kind of thing. This one says Florida beef with lab-grown meat is evidence-free. Lobbyists and politicians campaign against lab-grown meat appeal to emotion, not logic or reason. Well, everything is political and all politics are based on feelings, but yeah, I think he's appealing to the emotion of the new thing is scary. Um, according to the Scientific American, there is, however, no indication that U.S. beef markets are under threat from cultured meat, bugs or otherwise. Red meat production and consumption are holding steady overall in the country. In contrast, cultured meat, which is grown from small number of real animal cells, does not require any killing. It only received its first regulatory approvals in the U.S. last year and isn't available for consumers to buy yet. Ron DeSantis is getting ahead of the curve. He says he thinks this is coming. He's looked out the front windshield of the car and said, "This is what's coming. Let's stop it. Let's not allow that." Um, he's ahead of the curve. At least he's looking forward and seeing the things that he doesn't like and doesn't want, and putting laws to prevent us from getting to it. Which is what the best thing I can hope for a Republican. Hey, that looks like a bad idea in the future. Here's why it's a bad idea. I kind of want them to do that. I don't want to pass laws to prevent it. I don't want to pass laws to prevent us from moving forward, but warn me of the future, the problems in the future. Thomas, that's what I want for you to do. I want you to warn me of the uh, uh, potholes in that I'm about to go off the bridge. Does that sound okay?
sure. We're already over it, baby.
We're
We're
already
falling
over
into
the
the river.
bridge. Hey, we're halfway. we're off the bridge completely, and we're going into the river. Okay, that sounds fine. The last thing I think I wanted to talk about today was trans people win in a major decision on healthcare access that could go to the Supreme Court. So this is a big one that nobody's talking about that I think is actually going to end up at the Supreme Court. Trans people in several states just want a right to coverage for gender affirming care in the divided ruling. So what happened here is the U.S. Court of Appeals in the Fourth Circuit has taken on two cases concerning gender affirming care access in both states. Cadell versus Falwell challenged the exclusion of trans government employees from gender affirming healthcare coverage. So they said, hi, I would like these medical treatments. The doctor was on board, but then the healthcare coverage said, no, you cannot have that medical procedure because you are the wrong sex. And the judge said that you cannot determine who can have what based on their sex. The North Carolina State Health Plan, in the West Virginia medical program discriminate on the basis of gender identity and sex in violation of the Equal Protections Clause. So this is going to go to the Supreme Court. I know I didn't send this to you ahead of time, but this is any immediate feels, any hot takes?
Not regarding gender affirming care, but this is specifically that if you're a government employee, then your healthcare coverage has to cover it, right?
Right. That's what it's suggesting. That the case that they're making, the argument that they're making, is that Waldo can walk in and get testosterone, and it's covered. But if Cindy walks in and requests testosterone, and the doctor approves that she should have testosterone, she can't have it, and it isn't covered.
Okay.
Not that
Yeah,
she
I see
can't
what you're
have it,
saying.
not that she's illegally to have it. It's just that they won't cover her having it, you know. And then Cindy has put together an argument that says, hey, they're telling me they won't cover this thing based on my sex, and that's a protected class.
Oh, yeah, okay. That makes sense. They should win.
And they have so
Um,
far. It's going to go up to the Supreme Court, and they're going to, I don't know what the hell they're going to do. They're a mess these days, I think. I think they're all over the fucking road right now. Nobody knows what they're going to do. So we're expecting that to go through. And if it does, that kind of sets the precedent that health insurance, even federal, and can't discriminate based on that stuff. You start to get that branches out to a whole bunch of other places, you know. So this is a trickle up, maybe trickle down, I don't know, situation where they get the ability to do, have these things covered, then they get it covered federally and by health insurance, and then if your state law starts discriminating against them, as I think they do in a lot of the southern states, they'll have a Supreme Court backed situation on how they shouldn't be discriminated against.
yeah, so I mean, as long as it's not going to require a company to include certain things in their insurance packages, then I'm fine with it. Like, so if you get an insurance plan that does not include hormone treatments for anyone,
Mhm.
right?
Then that would be
then
more acceptable.
that would be fine by me, right?
Okay.
So then you can't complain that you want gender affirming care and your plan doesn't cover it because you chose that plan that doesn't cover it, right?
Mhm.
If the law says, hey, you have to include gender affirming care in all of your plans, I don't like that law.
You don't like that law. Well, yeah, I mean, that would be telling a private company what to do, and I can definitely see the complaint or the downside to that, telling the insurance company what they have to cover. But I hate insurance companies anyway, and I want them to all go bankrupt so that we can get a universal health care. Do I want to tell them what to do? Or do I want the government telling them what to do? I mean, they have to.
In some instances, yeah, you have to regulate things,
Mhm.
but should the government require them to have certain things in certain plans? I don't think so.
I can see the logic of that. Yes.
And it's sort of like when you get car insurance, right?
Mhm.
You're required to have liability, but then comprehensive and what's the fucking other one?
Full coverage or something like that.
That's the comprehensive one, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Collision,
Collision.
comprehensive and collision
Oh,
are
okay.
optional, right?
Right.
Sort of like that. So if they're gonna go, well, now in your liability plans you have to include stuff that involves collision. I wouldn't like that either, right? So
Okay. Well, that's the end of the stories I had brought up. Anything that you have or fun stories you want to tell us about Europa?
not particularly.
That's
It was
okay.
really cool. I saw all the stuff over there. It was a very hectic, 2 week. But overall, yeah, pretty good. Germany has lots and lots of bratwurst and schnitzel.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. I love that idea.
and not a whole lot of anything else. Oh, and beer, and they got lots of beer.
Oh, okay. I do
Um,
like that.
yeah, it was pretty funny to walk into like every restaurant, everywhere is just like bratwurst and schnitzel. It's like, okay,
I would,
anything else? No.
I would enjoy it, but then my foot would hurt because I've got the gouch. I've got gout, and so I can't
Uh,
have too much beer or sausage. Makes my foot hurt. Um, but I love those
yeah,
things. They're delicious. That's probably why I have the gout. Uh, but I would enjoy that. That would be fun.
Switzerland, really nice if you go to one of the smaller cities. We did two towns. We did a city. We did Zurich,
Mhm.
which is just really city-like, actually. Not anything particularly special. It's sort of like walking around in New York,
Mhm.
um, except the buildings are smaller. Uh, and honestly, really, really expensive. I probably wouldn't go
Oh,
back
okay.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a burger and it was $35.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, it was pretty wild. Um, so Zurich, very expensive. I wouldn't recommend it. But then we went down to a smaller town, and that one was really cool. Still a little bit expensive, but not as much. And then we were able to do things like take a gondola up to the top of a mountain, and there was like a restaurant up there, so we sat on a terrace that like overlooked the town, um, and like drank mimosas and had lunch there, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, sounds delightful.
Um, yeah, and then headed down to Rome, and I've been to Rome before, but people I was with weren't or haven't, so it was pretty cool. We saw the Colosseum and the Forum and
Mhm.
the
Is it
Pantheon,
is
and
it bigger than you thought it would be or smaller? So I've heard people think that it's just gigantic thing, and then they get there like, hey, why is it so small? Or
which
is it?
one, the Colosseum?
Yeah, the Colosseum.
Oh, I've always thought it was way bigger than I expected.
Okay.
Like you see it in a picture book, and it, you have a certain size in your
And
mind,
it's
but you
this
get
big.
there and it's massive.
Oh, it's bigger
Yeah.
than you thought? Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing
Okay.
is the size of a modern football stadium.
Okay.
Like you wouldn't expect that out of something that's thousands of years old.
Okay.
Uh, or at least when I got there the first time back 5 years ago or so. Um, much larger than I was originally
I
anticipating.
felt the same way about Manhattan.
But Rome itself is small, which is funny. You can pretty much walk and see. You can walk from one side to the other in just a little over an hour.
Oh, okay.
Or at least for all the stuff that you'd want to see in like the main area, right? So like the Vatican to the Colosseum,
Mhm.
all in like in between there is basically all the stuff you would want to see. Um, and yeah, just walking from one to the other on either side only takes like an hour to an hour and a half.
Oh, okay. Well, that does sound nice. I would I would enjoy that. That would be a good time.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
glad
if you ever do get
yeah,
out there, you definitely need to book stuff in advance,
tours and
like
whatnot.
tours and whatnot. Yeah, because like if you just want to go to the Coliseum and go inside and see it, even then you'd want to book a ticket for that because if you don't, you'll stand in line for like 3 hours.
Right. Okay.
Uh, so yeah, we did end up booking all our stuff, so we were able to get in places without having to wait. But there were a lot of people we saw standing in line, and that did not look like fun.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You got only so much time on your vacation. You're spending it standing in a line to get into the thing because you didn't plan
Yeah.
properly. Yeah. I could see that being an issue and a bad time.
Oh, terrible. Yeah. So, but yeah, then we saw the Sistine Chapel and
Oh, okay.
um
Yeah, I have the photo on my start screen
nice. Yeah, yeah.
right.
Uh I always think that picture is so funny because God is like life, and Adam's like, yeah, okay, thanks, bro. He's like chilling, like not even trying to reach.
He is very relaxed. That's true. The one on my start screen though has been they put that photo into an AI and then the AI expanded it, and that's what that extra bit is on the outside.
Huh. All right.
And then the AI added a super god, which is the guy up at the top right.
The angry anime man.
Yeah, he's super god. He's looking down on God, being like, "Okay, good job." Uh, uh, so yeah, that sounds wonderful. I've just been here doing the same old thing. I haven't gone to watch that Civil War movie yet, but I think it's going to be on the on demand soon, and I'd rather watch it from home on my TV over here. So I might see when that's going to come out. Have you seen that movie yet?
I have not.
Okay, because I know we talked about it. That was a plan we had. We were going to go watch it and then do the thing, but neither of us have watched it, so it's okay. Uh,
I actually totally forgot about that.
I forgot it existed as well. And then I might just get it on demand whenever that comes up. I'll let you know, and if you're interested in that, and then we'll do a movie review for it. Let's see, any other big super fun political thing, or have you just been not paying attention at all?
Oh, I've not paid attention at all.
I don't
I
blame you.
do have to go here in a moment to
Yeah,
pick up a friend from the
yeah,
airport. So
I'm about to call it off anyway. So uh, I was about to do the outro thing. Any other outro stuff you want to say?
nope.
Okay, cool.
Y'all have a good weekend.
Great stream, thanks guys.
Thank you, KBP. So yeah, that's it for me. Um, my name has been Waldo, and that was Thomas. As usual, we argue about the politics on Saturday. If you're watching, if you're paying
Okay,
attention,
bye.
press the thumbs up, press the follow, press the subscribe buttons, and all that fun stuff. I am going to be back probably on Monday night at about 7 o'clock Monday for normal time. We'll look at some headlines again, and then we'll play Death Must Die because I love that game. It's so good, so much fun, and I just like playing it. I might play it tomorrow, just random, not politics, just playing that game stream. The algorithm hates it, but I might do it anyway. And that is it for me today. I appreciate everybody who's here. Thanks for coming in. We got a new follower today, the Opinionator, who really tried to give it to me. Come back some other time, Opinionator. You're welcome. Just I just turned TTS off when we talk about the individual stories. So if you want to come back tomorrow, and I'll have TTS on the entire time I'm playing that video game, you can give us all your hot takes, and I can argue with them, and it'll be a good time. And that's it for me. Everybody have a good day. Goodbye.